In the summer of 2018, 5 young adults, fresh out of college and eager to escape the digital noise of everyday life, set out on a camping trip deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Their goal was simple: disconnect, decompress, and reconnect with nature. What none of them knew was that something or someone was already out there, waiting. This wasn't just a nature trip. It would become a waking nightmare, a story not easily shared around a campfire, but one that demands to be heard. Welcome to True Crime Archives channel. If you're drawn to dark mysteries, unexplained encounters, and harrowing brushes with real terror, then settle in. Because this case takes us into the shadowed heart of one of America's most beautiful and isolated forests, and straight into a terrifying true experience that may have left more questions than answers. Abby, Marcus, his younger brother Tim, Tim's girlfriend Hannah, and the narrator, 5 friends in their early 20s, had picked a location far off the grid. No cell signal, no traffic noise, just towering trees, damp earth, and clean mountain air. The kind of place where you feel miles from anything, until you realize that might not be a good thing. The first day and night were idyllic. They hiked through the thick foliage with their camping gear, eventually settling in a clearing near a calm lake. With just enough space for 3 tents, the site was perfect. They built a fire, roasted hot dogs and marshmallows, and traded stories under a vast canopy of stars. It felt like the world had shrunk down to just the 5 of them and the forest. But silence in the woods can be deceptive. It began on the second night. Around 11 p.m., the group was still gathered around the fire, laughing and soaking in the peace, until Marcus suddenly froze. "Did you guys see that?" He pointed into the dark beyond the firelight. The group turned, squinting into the black maze of trees, but saw nothing. Marcus insisted he had seen something. A figure, maybe 30 or 40 yards away, ducking behind a tree. Tim brushed it off. "Probably just a deer," he said. But 20 minutes later, a sharp snap broke the silence. A stick, clearly crushed underfoot, and from the same direction. Abby wanted to call it a night. The rest agreed. The fire was doused, tents zipped up, and the forest swallowed them whole once again. That's when the nightmare truly began. At some unknown hour, the narrator awoke to something bone-chilling. Breathing. Not snoring, not shifting in a sleeping bag. Breathing. Coming from outside the tent. Close. Maybe 10 feet away. At first, it felt like a dream, but the sound continued. Ragged, deliberate breathing, like that of an older person, someone winded, maybe a long-time smoker. It wasn't one of the group. No footsteps, no zip of a tent, just breathing. The narrator froze, clutching a flashlight, but never turning it on. The breathing circled the tent, and then it stopped. A wave of relief came, fragile and tentative. Maybe it really had been one of the others, but something about it didn't feel right. Eventually, sleep returned, but the fear lingered. The next morning was oddly quiet until Marcus broke the silence. "Someone was outside our tent last night." Hannah confirmed it. She had heard movement, footsteps circling more than once. It even sounded like there may have been more than one person. Tim admitted he'd gotten up to pee, but said he saw something, or someone, crouched by the fire pit at around 4 a.m. That's when they checked the area. Footprints, circling all 3 tents. Some shoe prints, some not. In a patch of wet dirt near the edge of the site, one stood out, a bare human foot, deeply indented in the mud. It wasn't one of theirs, and the trail led into the woods, then disappeared. They tried to laugh it off. Maybe it was a deranged hiker, maybe a prank, but no one really believed it. That night, no one wanted to sleep. They stayed huddled around a larger fire, flashlights in hand. Conversations were shorter. Nervous glances flicked toward the trees. Then, at 2 a.m., crunching leaves, not an animal, not wind, footsteps, and then a voice, low, muted, human. Before anyone could react, Marcus swung his flashlight toward the trees, and that's when they saw him, a naked man, crouched behind a tree, pale, dirty, watching them. He bolted back into the forest like a feral animal. No one dared move, no one dared flee. Staying together by the fire felt like the only option. Hannah wanted to leave, But Marcus and the narrator knew the terrain too well. Navigating those woods in darkness could be a deadly mistake. Especially now, especially with him, still out there. Hours passed, tension never lifted. Then, sometime before dawn, more noise. A voice from the woods. "I see you guys." The narrator whispered, "Please let it be a deer." But deep down, they knew. It was him. No one else reacted. Had they heard it too? Or were they too paralyzed with fear to move? Moments later, the narrator's tent shifted. Then, the zipper began to slide down. They screamed, loud, panicked. The others screamed too. Whoever was outside took off. No one slept the rest of the night. As dawn broke, they packed quickly. No words, just motion. The forest no longer felt beautiful, it felt predatory. At the ranger station, they told everything. The ranger listened, then said something that still echoes ominously. "We've had reports. A man, or maybe more, living out there. Some just steal. Others, worse." They didn't ask what worse meant. In the car, they laughed, nervous laughter, the kind that hides the fact you're still shaking. But inside, the fear remained. Some nightmares don't end with sunrise. They linger, in memory, in sound, in the creak of a tree branch or the zip of a tent. The Blue Ridge Mountains had offered them solitude, but something was watching. Something that knew how to move in the dark, how to wait, how to breathe just loud enough to be heard. What or who was out there in those woods? A vagrant, a disturbed loner, or something else entirely? The presence was human, but the behavior, primal. Could this be an ongoing cold case? Are there other reports that haven't reached the public eye? And how many other campers may have encountered something similar, but never made it back to tell the tale? One thing's for certain, this was no ghost story, it was all too real.
If you found this story chilling, and you want to hear more terrifying true crime encounters and unsolved mysteries,
subscribe to True Crime Archives channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. Now we leave you with one final question. Would you dare go camping deep into the wilderness again, knowing what might be watching you from the shadows?